said, does racism prevail in the black community? And I even hate saying black community because I don't like to identify people based on their race, but this is the language that we're using these days. Think about these things. Cities that are predominantly black always elect black mayors. I don't know any that don't. Maybe there are some, but as far as I know, they aren't. In DC, Washington, DC, no white candidate can ever get elected. They don't even run because they know that the voters are racist and they will never elect a black mayor. In fact, the race is about this. Which of the two black candidates is blacker, and which is really an Uncle Tom, not as black as the other one, even though if you look at them, they look just as black one as the other. So does this happen in predominantly white cities? No. Predominantly white cities sometimes elect black mayors, sometimes they elect white mayors. So apparently there's less racism in the white community than in the black community. President Obama was elected in a predominantly white country, which would lead you to think, well, most whites are not racist, because if they were, they wouldn't elect a black president. 94% of the blacks voters, the black voters, voted for Obama. You think all of them voted for Obama because they agree with his policy? I don't think so. I think a lot of them just voted for him because he's black. They're black, he's black, they got the vote. So these are just some of the factors. There's other social factors like the jubilation when O.J. Simpson was declared not guilty. He was obviously guilty. His DNA evidence showed he was guilty. He was proven to be guilty in the civil case. But the blacks, most of them, not all, but most of them, were jubilant. They were so happy because their guy won. They identify with O.J. Simpson because he's black. So he's part of their group. So they support him. Whether he's right or wrong, a murderer or not, they're in favor of him. This recent case, the Zimmerman case, if you looked at the analysts and the people, most of the black analysts, especially in MSNBC and CNN, they were all thinking that Zimmerman was guilty of second-degree murder. The protests, the signs of no justice, no peace, the demonstrations, all that, all these many groups of black people, I don't know what percentages they were, but a predominantly amount of black people that I saw, all thought that Zimmerman had shot Trayvon because he was black, even though there was no evidence to that effect. So they view the conflict in terms of which of the two people is black like me. I'm against the other guy. I'm in favor of the black guy. I think he was murdered, even though there's no evidence for that fact. A couple of other points that I'd like to make are, you have to distinguish between proper and improper generalizations. And you have to see that a racist claims to know the truth about somebody because of the race in which they are from, or the race from which they're from. But you can use generalizations about a race or a country or whatever to make predictions, to speculate in situations where you don't have time to find out the truth. But you know when you do that, and you're not a racist, that you don't know what the truth is. And in anything important that's relevant to your life, you take the time to identify the facts and come to the conclusions that are correct based on the facts. So, for example, President Obama complains that when he was walking by, people would lock their doors. He could hear the clicks. Well, yeah, and if he was white and he had a lot of tattoos around his neck, they would also be locking the doors. And if he was disheveled and had clothing that looked suspect, they might also be locking the doors. That's peccata minuta. That's nothing of importance. And the best attitude that a black person should have in this kind of situation is to just shrug it off. Everybody in life suffers from some statistical analysis about the groups that they form part of, and sometimes are unjustly judged based on those statistics. As long as their rights are not violated, because when they click the lock, they don't violate your rights, or when they follow you, they don't violate your rights, you're basically okay. I would suggest that you should just laugh it off. I can understand why people can get irritated when this happens a lot, and I think it does happen a lot to black people because they're carrying a lot of statistical baggage. But the best thing to do in this kind of situation in life is just to be amused. In fact, some black people actually like it because they like to see the white people squirm because they're afraid when they see them, etc. But to be amused, I think, is the right tack. Just, you think I'm a mugger or whatever, well, that's your wrong conclusion, and keep walking your merry way without letting it affect you. One last point. Since racism is nonsense, those politicians that advocate racism, racist policies, don't make any sense, and they contradict themselves up and down the line, and then sometimes in order to be consistent, they say ridiculous things. If you want to see 2 examples of that, you can see Congressman John Lewis on my YouTube channel, or you can see Congressman Claiborne. It's very amusing. Thank you.